Welcome to Womb Talk. I'm your host, Elizabeth Vanderwilt, a holistic doula and women's health coach and founder of Fruitful Womb Doula Services. This space is for every woman walking the path of deeper healing, whether you're tending to your fertility, carrying life, grieving loss, or stepping into motherhood, or maybe you're even easing into the wisdom of menopause. Here we honor the full spectrum of womanhood through story, nourishment, and sacred conversation. Feel free to find us on social media and stay connected with the community. So let's settle in, breathe deep, and begin. Today's episode, you are going to be having to listen to me talk about self advocacy. And this is in the doctor's office and beyond. And this podcast comes to me because I want to share my journey with medical support and needing to advocate for yourself. Having to advocate for yourself can probably be one of the hardest things you'll ever have to do. I found that every single time I dealt with going to the doctor for any kind of health thing, I was always shot down and looked down upon, feeling like, they know what's best, and maybe I am failing at this. And that kind of feeling should never, ever, ever be happening. Your health is just so important, and you are the only one who knows you. You know your body the best. I know exactly how my body works, especially after 25 years. You know how your body works after a certain amount of time. Like, you learn to understand your body. Like, when women are trying to conceive, 9 out of 10 times, if this is a recurrent birth, so if they're pregnant and it's their third or their fourth, you'll find that they know when they're pregnant before their body has even started fully giving the entire signs of pregnancy, because they have their own little quirks that they just know is related to pregnancy. And this goes for so many things. There are many women who are thinking they are going through menopause, and their doctors are like, no, you're too young for that. And they're not listening to you. And that is just so dang disrespectful. Like, really, like, how rude is that to actually be staring someone in the face to be like, nah, I don't think you know what you're talking about. I got a degree for this. I know exactly what that is. And in the end, they are wrong because they didn't know your body. You knew your body. And this is why when we come into pregnancy, or we come into birth, fertility, anytime we're worrying as women what our health should be like, I always recommend to people learn the brain method. That stands for B stands for benefits, R stands for risks. I spelled benefits. I spelled brain wrong. Anyway, the B stands for benefits. The R stands for risks. A stands for alternatives. I for intuition. And N for nothing. So, to break that down a little bit, this is my key thing that I use every day, even in my own life. What are the benefits of doing something? Okay, so if today I choose to eat spinach, the benefits are it's supposed to help me with my health. Okay, so what are the risks? Well, I don't think there are too many risks of eating spinach, really. I mean, you could probably overdose on spinach, but maybe you're allergic to spinach, so that's a risk. But you know what I mean? This is what you need to use in your day to day when you're trying to find out how to go through things. And when it comes to the time that you do have a medical appointment, never come to it empty handed. If you listen to a podcast episode we had in season 2, we had a Dr. Brittany Anderson on with us, and she gave us such valuable information, and she really took a deep dive into how we need to advocate for ourselves when it comes to our health appointments. You can't just expect someone else to be fully taking care of you when it comes to your staff, in terms of you need to ask the right questions. You need to come in prepared for a visit and want to know things, want to know about your body. You don't want to go into an ultrasound and be like, if they call and I don't know what's going on, whatever. But the next time you go see your healthcare provider, then you need to be like, okay, can I ask questions about the ultrasound? Like, how did it go? Did you see anything? Or whatever they were checking for? Or Is baby's health good? Is baby measuring well? Like, ask the questions. When you ask the questions, it's showing them that you are taking initiative in your health. It also proves that you are not one to be pushed over. I always love to say that when you're going to a healthcare provider, or actually in this day and age, anywhere, you need to act like you're the president. You need to have your own team of 12 bodyguards around you. I'm a very firm believer in that. And so I always tell people, if you can go with someone that you trust, you fully trust this person to be let in on your health information, get them to come with you if they have time. I mean, I'm very blessed that I live in a family where my mom or my dad is always willing to come with me for medical emergencies or anything like that. They've been there by my side. Even my brother has been there sometimes. And having that team that shows them that they can't intimidate you. Plus, the more people that are there is that the more witnesses they have. So if they do anything sus, they're not going to be so easy to get away with it if it's just one person. If you've got 4 or 5 witnesses that are all collaborating on the same thing, that they saw non-consent happening, like, if that is there, they don't pull the same kind of stuff. So I really, if you can get people in your corner, whoever is on your emergency contact list, if any of them are able to join you on your appointments, really try to do it, and do that for somebody else. If you're their emergency contact, can you be there for them? And these kind of things can just really help put you in a good spot with having people on your back. And that's so important as women when we go in for even fertility support, or if we're having a baby. Like, these are times when the more people, the better. And I remember this one time where I had been bleeding so bad, and I've mentioned multiple times about my past with my periods, but I seriously had bleeding that was so bad. I was going through a pad an hour. I kid you not. This is when I was still using disposable pads and I could really witness it. I had blood clots the size of, I'd probably say the size of this green jar. And if you're not watching and you're just listening, I would probably say if you could put your thumb finger to your middle finger and make a circle like that, that would be how big. It was definitely over the recommended size of blood clots. And I'm normally not a wuss. I'd rather just like wait it out at home. But it was getting to the point with the cramping and the bleeding. It was just so heavy. So one day I decided to go, and my parents both went with me. And I was like 19, 20 at the time. And I was 19, actually. Let me think here. So then when I went in, I knew that I really, really did not want any type of hormonal birth control. So that was something I stated immediately at the front, because I had already been discussing this with my OBGYN, and we were still trying to find the problem, and there was no answers. So when this came up, this was an ER situation. So they did blood work and everything like that, and they prescribed me a pill that was supposed to help, and it did help, but not how they thought it was going to. It said, oh, the dose that we're going to give you is going to be good enough. You should only need to take it 3 days, but just in case, I'll give you a 10-day dose so you don't have to come back and wait and all that stuff. I had to take all 10 days, and there was still 2 days afterwards before it finally stopped bleeding. It was lessening. I give them credit for that, but it did not stop like they were saying. And they really did not like the idea that my parents were in the room. They were so like, oh, are you sure you want, oh, are you sure? Like, it was consistently like, how can we question that consistently? And that's what I told them, is I have no secrets from my parents. And so I right away was like, I'm currently not sexually active. I'm currently not, I know I'm not pregnant. I know it's not a miscarriage, like, because they were going through these things. And when I looked this drug up that they gave me later on to help me, because they had told me they use this on wounded soldiers. And I was like, okay, if that's supposed to help stop the bleeding, because they were like, it's more of an emergent thing if you're bleeding that much. So I was like, okay. And I took it, and then afterwards I did some research into it, and it's actually a drug that they give for people who have a miscarriage or an abortion. And that is something that I still to this day think that, did they think that I went through that and I wasn't being honest to them? Because there are a lot of people who are not honest about their health. They're not honest about things going on, and you have to be when you're worrying about yourself. And so I had a really hard time with that. That the thought was that maybe they didn't believe me when I was telling them that, I wasn't sexually active, I wasn't pregnant. I knew it for a fact. I definitely did not have an abortion. So those things all came to the point that I was like, hmm. So there are, of course, benefits. I, again, firmly believe there are benefits to having people in the room. But at the same time, when you have more people in the room, they're careful. They're more careful too because there are witnesses to their actions. So, I like to tell people that not all doctors are bad, and that's not what I'm saying when I come to episodes like this. But self advocacy is so important because if you really are not advocating for yourself and you're not, like I told them, I do not want a hormonal birth control. And that was the reason why we ended up with the drug that they gave me, because oftentimes with my heavy bleeding that I had, they prescribe you a form of a birth control to stop the bleeding. But when you have that, it's like a band aid approach. It's like slap a band aid right on there. And when you slap the band aid, once you take the band aid off, there's the problem again. It's like when you slap tape on that, like what's that ad that you always see that they're like, they smack a tab, what do you call that? They smack a piece of tape that's supposed to be really extra strong against the water, and then it you know what I'm talking about, I think, but it leaks afterwards, like when you peel it back. And that's pretty much what this is. So that's just a little bit on self advocacy for you. You really, really have to stand up for yourself, and they're not going to like it. There is going to be pushback. And if you're a person that is more meeker and mild, it's going to be really hard. But that's where having someone that is more bullheaded, I'll say the piece, like, I'll stand up for you. If you have one of those on your team that can help you, that's even better. And again, I tell you, this applies for women regardless of your age. Like, if you're really young, even listening to this, do it. Like, just get the support you need. Do not be ashamed to have your mom and your dad in the room. You need to have open communication. Always have someone. The support is so necessary. And yeah, so that's just a little bit on Womb Talk with Elizabeth. And like I said, these episodes where I'm going to be talking, they're just going to be bite-sized little bits of tidbit information. And honestly, I'm just so glad you joined us today. So thank you, and I hope we'll see you around again. See you next Monday.